How's it going, everyone? I'm VenomousStare, and wow, what a time to be a StarCraft fan. I have stats versus Byun here, but more importantly, I have some very exciting discussion for you in the early game today. So let's talk about what this game is and what it means. This is stats versus Byun replays from IEM Katowice. It looks like Katowice. I always want to say Katowice. It's Katowice. But this is a best of 5. I'm going to be bringing you all the games on this channel. The subsequent, like the rest of the games of this series, I mean, on this channel. So make sure you subscribe, you click the bell notification icon so you don't miss the future videos, and you leave me a like rating. So this is Byun, the Puppy Terran, down here in the bottom left, formerly of Prime. This guy is insane. He won the last season of GSL. He did so on the back of crisp macro play that he was able to couple with his incredible micro. Byun, in the very early days of StarCraft 2, was kind of a cheesy, aggressive player that got in the face of his opponents a lot and did a lot of really aggressive builds. As the game went on, he developed his macro ability more and was able to become a more well-rounded player. And because of that, he was able to actually win a GSL. This season, he went out in the round of 16, and his opponent is Stats, an incredibly good player who is in the finals of the GSL right now. When this video is being made, it is currently after the Brood War show matches and before the GSL finals. This is a huge day in StarCraft 2. The Brood War remastered, or remake, or whatever it's called officially. I think it's called Brood War Remastered officially, but StarCraft Brood War, StarCraft 1, a phenomenal game, is being remastered by Blizzard themselves, as we see a Stargate come out here and a pylon for stats. But if we go to the units tab and look at production, there's no mothership core. Usually with this build, we see pylon on the low ground, mothership core comes out, overcharges, kills the 2 depots. But it seems as though Stats is just kind of doing a fake here. Maybe he wants Byun to overreact, maybe even panic and cancel the CC or something. Reaper action coming here for Byun, and he's probably going to get hunted down. Oh, he tries to juke the Adept there, but it doesn't quite work. And there are 2 Adepts out, so Byun is not long for this world, but he might get a couple probes here. And he does. He picks up 2 probes, tries to run away, and gets sniped off from the cliff. Pylon out here, Widowmine burrows, but no mothership core still for Stats, so this was a fake. And the Oracle is on its way. So Brood War Remastered was announced at the beginning of the GSL broadcast, and I think this is incredibly interesting, and I hope that it does come out in the summer, which is when it was announced. I hope they don't delay it. I really think Brood War as a game, of course, is incredibly good, and many people view it as classic, but I really feel like Blizzard has to be super careful as we see 2 Adepts pressing up here, because any little thing that Blizzard changes could be detrimental to the way that the game is played, as we see an Oracle and a Medevac kind of awkwardly cross paths here. So this Oracle's going to try to do some damage, but a mine is hidden here. Stats is incredibly good. He's going to pick off that Marine and not die to the mine and run away. So let's see what damage Byun's little drop does. And he's going to drop into the main here as we see a Phoenix about to finish. Work gate is being turned on. The Phoenix finishes, and it has a little helper Phoenix. Byun's going to fly away. The Oracle might try to intercept here, and it does. It turns on its Disco Ball of Doom ability. And Byun does some nice hot pickup micro there to minimize the damage, but Stats does pick off the Medevac there. That's what's really important. Notice that Byun is starting to make a depot wall at his natural ramp. This is so important against Adepts, because if you don't make walls, you will get railroaded by Adepts. Byun is going to walk home here with his Marines. Of course, his Marines were a bit stranded after they lost their Medevac. The Widowmine burrows. Byun is doing some add-on action here. He's getting a reactor on a starport, reactor onto the factory, adding more racks, adding an eBay. Phoenix Oracle is out for stats. Thankfully for Byun, he did make a Viking. Now what is Phoenix Oracle good at? Well, it's very good at defending drops, and it's very good at keeping track of your opponent's army. You cast Revelation, you see the Medivacs, you see the Gem Rainers, you're really never going to take damage to a drop because you can catch the Medivacs full of Marines in the airspace with your Phoenix. And it's very good at map control, this style. It's good at players who try to take like a third base out at the third base themselves as opposed to building it like at the natural and floating it over. But what is the style bad against? As we see a Revelation going down. So now, Stat sees everything. It's almost impossible for him to be caught off guard. But what is the style bad at? As we see Resonating Glaives on the way, +1 on the way, and more gates. So no Robo. Stats is committing to Phoenix Adept, which is very popular. Phoenix Adept really lacks splash damage. Now, whenever I say splash damage, I mean something like Psystorm or Colossus, because of course the Colossus, their 2 beams rake and do a lot of damage to Bio, especially Marines without combat shields, which is what we see now. Of course, combat shields does get delayed pretty long in this matchup because a lot of times you see 4 or 5 racks and all of them will have reactors except one. Another Revelation goes down there, so there's no way Stats is going to be caught off guard, but here's the thing. No third base here for Byun. He's pumping double Liberator, double Mine, and a lot of Marines. This is a very hard composition to deal with. Why? Because, well, with Phoenix Adept, it's very good at holding drops, but whenever you have a ton of this composition that we see right here, the Adepts really rely on shading in to engage, and you can't really shade into Widow Mine, Liberation Zone. It's so brutal. So we see Stats might be in a bit of a precarious situation here as double overcharge comes down, but Byun just mows them down because Stats has produced so many Stargate units. He's up to 8 Phoenix, but without any Robo units and without a ton of Adepts, he was not able to hold that third, and it does go down. So Byun even outs the base count. Adept Shades going forward here. They're going to scout the units. They're going to go forward and take big hits, but the Phoenix come in too. And it's a very close fight. Marines trading with Phoenix, with Adepts. But the Phoenix do a lot of damage versus light units. And quite honestly, Marines without combat shields do get eaten alive by quite a few things. So Byun manages to kill the third base there. The supplies are about even. And this is a very exciting game. It is game 1 of a best of 5. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss these subsequent games of this best of 5 or any future videos, because this is Byun and Stats. These are 2 of the best players there is, plain and simple. This is the former GSL winner against the guy who was playing in the GSL finals in a few hours at the time this video is being casted. So Stats will either be a GSL runner-up, or he will either be the guy to deal Sue his brutal 5th GSL loss. Phoenix are going to come in here and try to harass Byun, but Byun has a wonderful setup here with 2 turrets and a mine. And Stats might actually not try to fly into the main. He might just try to fly in this little area, because on Newkirk, this is the drop path. This main to the other main is the area where we see lots of drops being attempted. Another Revelation does occur there. Scan comes down at the third for Byun. Byun might try to aggress, but we see a lot of Adepts actually this time, and they do have +1. So a bit of a different scenario here, and the Stargate units could cut the Terran off of Byun. Very good micro. Steps up, sets everything in brutal friendly fire there as everything goes into the deep red. And that was absolutely crazy, as there was more red on those Marines than a map of the Midwest 2016 Electoral College map, as all of Byun's Marines there pretty much went into the deep red and were unable to fight. When I say deep red, I'm obviously referring to the health there, as they were at about 5 and 10 HP, the entire army. So he had to retreat. 1-1 has finished for our Protoss player. 1-1 has finished for our Terran player. Protoss throws Adepts, and what do you know, this wall is up. And this wall is going to prevent the evils of mass immigration of Protoss from occurring into the main base of Terran. As it stands, Stats is just going to kind of posture around the middle of the map. He does not want to get dropped. We can see that's why he keeps sending this Phoenix Adept into this little area here. This area that I keep highlighting. Very, very heavy drop location. On Newkirk, almost every single drop you see is going to occur through that path. It's very similar to the 2v2 map Magma Mines in that sense if you play 2v2. I cast a ton of 2v2 on this channel if you're interested in that. Scan occurs here for the Terran player. He wants to see if there is an observer out. Templar Archives is about to finish for Stats, and Stats is postured out here by his third, and workers are dying here as we see Adept harassment happen in the natural. Force fields coming for the Protoss player. Stats really just has to sit here by these pylons and wait for Byun to aggress onto him, quite honestly. But Byun's being a little bit aggressive here. 2 more force fields come out, and the Protoss player is bleeding the army of the Terran out here. He has a 14 worker advantage. The 4th base is done. That's a big deal. Adept Shades get cancelled. Of course, when you see Adept Shade go out, they do get scouting info. But this 4th is huge, guys. This income disparity will become a big deal as the game progresses. Adept Shades scouting around, not really going forward or committing to anything, just getting info. But liberation zones come up, and Byun is leapfrogging here because it is very hard for Protoss to engage into liberation zone mine. Protoss does try to engage here because, as we see at the 3rd base, huge damage being done. So Stat says, okay, I'll fight you half-heartedly and then do severe economic damage on the flippity flip. Suddenly Byun is trying to defend, doesn't get his wall up in time. That's the Marco Rubio immigration plan. Does burrow mines though and starts to deflect the Adepts, but as it stands, 25 workers just died. The Protoss player does try to aggress here and clean up the Terran army. Huge Widow Mine shots. But this is the difference between having a big economy and having a small economy. As we can see, innovation, and by innovation I mean Byun. These 2 players, Innovation and Byun, are very easy to confuse. They both have excellent macro, excellent micro. They're both from Korea. Stats gets away with his Adepts there, runs into the natural, but gets cleaned up. Byun, the Puppy Terran, formerly of Prime, is very far behind here. 32 workers to 64, and the Protoss player has a base advantage. So this means that the Terran player can do several consecutive correct things and still be behind. Oracle is still out, and you know, see how this says 3 kills? The damage this Oracle has done to Byun in this game has been far more significant than 3 kills due to the revelations. Byun does some aggression here. The fact that some of these mines have been revelated is insanely important. More aggression onto the 3rd base, and a fight occurs at this 3rd base, and you can see how it jumped up to 11 there. I had to pan over, but I think the mine friendly fired a bit onto the SCVs. And once again, we see Stats is doing a relatively good job of defending here, but he's up an insane amount of workers. This is really the linchpin of the game. This isn't a WCS cast. I'm not going to sit here and scream and act like this is some super close game-defining engagement. And here we go. A actual game-defining engagement occurs, Kappa. And this is game-defining in the sense that Byun has to win here, but it's not game-defining in the sense that if Byun wins this engagement, he wins the game, because even if he wins this engagement, Stats still, you know, he's even on bases. He just warps in again and is fine, because this income disparity means that Stats will basically have to take significant damage over and over and over and make a lot of mistakes to fall behind enough to lose this game. As it stands, Byun is in a very bad position, and I'm not going to sit here and scream and pretend it's different. Stats has a huge supply lead. If this was a ladder game, Byun might have left, quite honestly. He's down 3 bases to 4, but he doesn't see the 4th base, so he doesn't really know how far behind he really is. And once again, this Oracle for Stats is thinking about Revelation. It doesn't quite have the energy. You have to have 50 to do that. Adepts are going to aggress upon these SCVs that were being transferred. And this is what I mean, guys. Let's look at income again. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to pull this tab up, but it's 64 to 27. And if Byun is so far behind, he is moving his main base to his third. He is in dire straits. Even though he's making very good unit compositions, revelation occurs. Here we go. Engagement coming down. The Protoss player fights the Terran. Byun and Stats duking it out here, but we can see Stats has so many units here, guys. Byun gets some nice Widowmine hits off, and Byun is making these really nice TY style mine liberator comps, but it doesn't matter. The income disparity is quite simply too great. Stats hasn't even really taken phenomenal engagements, but he has done a lot of worker harass, and that's been the difference in the game. Double Void Ray out here. Void Rays are very good against Liberators, and some more aggression is going to occur here for the Protoss, who's almost maxed, and he has been ahead for the majority of this game. He will warp into Depths at his fourth, and then probably go for the killing blow here as we see a Templar out. Storm is done. A little bit of a storm occurs on top of the libs. Double force field comes down. Liberation zone as well. But 70 supply lead here for Stats. He's just going to crush through Byun here. This is a best of 5. So Byun will GG and try to win these subsequent games. Make sure you subscribe for more. You do not want to miss the future games between these two GSL finalists.